Bayraktar Akinci TIHA breaks classical memorization in air defense. Bikar technology leader and chairman of the board of trustees of T3 Foundation Selçuk Bayraktar gave important information about TB2, Akinci TIHA and Cezeri. Bikar technology leader Selçuk Bayraktar shared critical information on UAV/SIHA work, the latest situation of Cezeri, the latest developments about Akinci TIHA, and the contribution in the Turkish defense industry. Bikar technology leader Selçuk Bayraktar, UAV/SIHA studies passed on the latest situation. Bayraktar stated that they were happy to produce drones and said, "In the early 2000s, when we started working in the field of unmanned systems, of course, we set out by setting ourselves great goals. We focused on developing our own technologies, anticipating the need of our country, especially in the field of unmanned systems caused by the fight against terrorism, and the need for this field will increase in the future. We have seen that it is very difficult to supply these products from abroad, and how difficult it is to operate even when they are supplied. I can say that the fact that a certain maturity has not yet been reached in this field, not only in Turkey but also in the world, was one of the reasons that pushed us most to work in the field of unmanned systems. At the moment when we arrived today, we are happy to have produced unmanned aerial vehicles that meet the needs of both our country and friendly and allied countries and frequently mention their name around the world. We set the target in the early 2000s and have reached the point where we are now. But he always believes that we can do better for our country, and therefore we are constantly investing in the future. We desire to make greater contributions to both humanity and our country by developing more advanced technologies with the knowledge we have already acquired and the momentum we have captured." Selçuk Bayraktar, who stated that the embargo threats raised in the world media were from the very beginning, said that despite this, Bayraktar TB2 SIHA was produced with the participation of 93% of domestic industries. "I would say the embargo was there from the beginning. The biggest difference between us and the manufacturer abroad is that when they start production, they get ecosystems ready for subcomponents and easily take products off the shelf and use them. We either produce almost every subcomponent ourselves or have a domestic supplier produce it. Since the early 2000s in the field of unmanned aerial vehicles is the largest value-added software and hardware systems our team of engineers designing and developing national and originally we are recognized as one of the world's leading technology companies with our engineering strength in a total of 13 different disciplines. While shelf-ready components such as piston engine, check valve, water holder used in Bayraktar TB2 SIHA production do not exceed 1%, we supply much more advanced domestic manufacturers than the alternatives of similar consumables in the world. Bayraktar TB2 SIHA's all critical components, designs, and software developed nationally and originally by Bikar, are produced with a 93% domestic industrial participation at a level that will be considered a record in the world. In this way, we export SIHA to Azerbaijan, Qatar, Ukraine, which produces the world's largest aircraft such as Antonov, without any interference. We are also continuing export negotiations with many countries." Selçuk Bayraktar shared information about Bayraktar TB2 Sitcom version. Tests of the Bayraktar TB2/SSIHA model with satellite communication have been completed, and these SIHAs are currently in operation. Bayraktar TB2/SSIHA with satellite communication system will be used in different strategic missions. According to the needs of our security forces, it is possible to ensure the integration of satellite communications with some structural studies that we will do in the body of the existing Bayraktar TB2 SIHA. Bikar technology leader Selçuk Bayraktar, explaining the capabilities of Bikar Akinci TIHA. Akinci TIHA can do air defense and 6 Bayraktar Akinci TIHA will be delivered to our security forces stressed. Our region is a region where political instability, civil wars, and inter-country strife are frequent. The Syrian civil war continues, moving into great obscurity on our southern border. Next to it is Iraq, where there are still no conflicts and terrorist attacks on our country are the most intense, and on our eastern border is Iran, which continues to be heavily armed. On the other hand, we still have problems due to Azerbaijan-Armenia tensions in the northeast. It would not be wrong to express how important it is to protect our airspace, especially when we consider that Greece, which has problems in the eastern Mediterranean and the Aegean Sea due to drilling activities, has conflicts of interest between us regarding maritime jurisdictions and airspace. Our Air Force began to carry out patrol flights called CAP on the Syrian border, especially after our RF-4E reconnaissance plane was shot down by the Syrian state and our pilots were killed. Well, if you say what that means, I'd say we have F-16 fighter jets in the sky protecting our airspace almost every hour of the day. Both the maintenance and maintenance costs are very high, both the air stay time is low and the human factor is a big factor, so I can say that unmanned aerial vehicles will relax the hand of our Air Force by performing these patrol duties. Although F-16 fighter jets do not have maneuverability, drones can stay in the air for long periods of time, so we can say that they are suitable for these patrol tasks. Of course, we can't say that it can replace fleets performing air-to-air missions. Bayraktar Akinci TIHA will add strength and provide great support to our Air Force by conducting long-term patrol flights with the AESA radar developed by Aselsan and the Gökdogan and Bozdogan missiles developed by TÜBİTAK. Of course, the execution of this task will take place according to the wishes of the end user, that is, our Turkish armed forces. If our armed forces carry out such planning, Bayraktar Akinci TIHA has the ability to conduct air defense by conducting air-to-air patrols in every point of our country. Currently, the integration processes of our delivery aircraft are ongoing. After the completion of their integration, we will perform the necessary tests according to the test schedule we have planned, and we will also conduct shooting tests as soon as possible. In the first place, we will hand over 6 Bayraktar Akinci TIHA to our security forces. Bayraktar Akinci is an unmanned aerial vehicle capable of carrying 1,350 kilograms of useful payload. The useful loads that it will host depend entirely on the preferences of the end user. At this point, if a Bayraktar Akinci TIHA is required to perform naval patrol duties, the necessary useful cargo integrations can be performed and used for these purposes. As you know, our Bayraktar TB2 UAVs are currently performing protection tasks for our seismic research ships and drilling ships in the eastern Mediterranean and Aegean. Although it does not use large-scale weapon systems and detection systems used against offshore targets, it protects these ships as part of reconnaissance surveillance activities. Radar, on the other hand, can carry out attacks on offshore targets by carrying these useful loads, depending on the end user's request. The most important consideration here is what purposes the end user wants to use this platform for. One of the biggest advantages of producing completely domestic and national products is the flexibility in the task area of the platform we have developed. According to the end user's requests, we can make improvements on our platforms and respond to these requests quickly by making useful load integrations in accordance with the desired configurations. Explaining the pros and cons of flying car technology in the world, Bayraktar said that Cezeri can give courage to initiatives in this field in our country. Flying car technology, as you know, still continues to develop with an intense imagination on Earth. In terms of design and use in the world, a clear concept has not yet been decided on. But we believe that in the future these tools will come into our lives. For this reason, we run a program such as hundreds of flying cars around the world. Our biggest goal is to already have this technology that can enter our lives in the future and thus prepare our country for the races of the future. We do not see Cezeri flying car as just a project of B-car. At the same time, we see it as a work that will encourage our country's initiatives in this area. But in the world, especially battery and smart autonomy technology needs to develop further. Flying cars need to be very safe and secure vehicles. For this reason, it is necessary to move artificial intelligence studies to a much more advanced level of intelligent driving technologies, especially in this area. We also work specifically on artificial intelligence and intelligent driving technology. We may not see flying cars in the usual flow of our lives until these technologies are developed. After the development of these technologies and the formation of regulations related to flying vehicles, flying cars will enter our lives. I think it can happen in at least 10 to 15 years. Cezeri, on the other hand, will be fully ready for flight in the coming years. But for the reasons I just mentioned, we can see it in rural areas, not in traffic in our cities. I think we can see that it is also used for sporting and tourist purposes in the next 4 to 5 years. Bayraktar evaluated development in defense industry. Our country, both as a requirement of its responsibilities from history and the geography in which it is located, lives in a constant struggle and tries to exist strongly. However, in order to ensure the safety of its people and oppressed peoples, defense industry tools are heavily needed. At this point, if you do not develop your own defense industry products, you entrust your national security and the safety of your people to the consciences of other countries. In the past, the fact that some weapons systems were not sold to our country, even for use against terrorism, which was considered one of the greatest crimes against humanity by the whole world, is the clearest proof of this situation. In accordance with the promise that a bad neighbor makes a host, Turkey has also cut its own belly by developing defense industry products that are not given to it locally and nationally, even in a better quality than those that are not given. National production in the defense industry, which was 15% 15 years ago, has recently reached 70%. This is a great achievement for our country. In the last 15 years, not only has the defense industry developed, defense industry companies have created a driving force in other sectors with the capabilities and knowledge they have acquired. The biggest example of this was that domestic companies working in different sectors, including defense industry companies such as Bayraktar and Aselsan, made the intensive care breathing apparatus that the world was looking for with candles during the epidemic period and made it ready for mass production in 15 days. It is a source of great happiness and pride for us that our country meets the needs of our Turkish armed forces and security forces with its own capabilities, as well as exports these products to friendly and allied countries. Bayraktar technology leader Selçuk Bayraktar, who mentioned the importance of national technology move, stressed that we need to develop our technology with the following statements. History can actually have different meanings from the point of view of the person who reads it a little. Although our history is full of many events to be proud of, we also need to read well the obstacles and failures that arise for this reason in the field of technology development that we encounter at many different points in our history, especially from the Ottoman Empire to the Republican period, and learn important lessons from here. Unfortunately, in our geography, which has major security problems, you need to develop your own technologies. In a globalized world, we now see the emergence and monopolization of giant technology companies that are beginning to have as much influence as large states. In order to guarantee the future of our country and our citizens, we must develop our own technologies again with our own people. In order for the negativity that has occurred in the past to not happen again, everyone from 7 to 77 must own technology initiatives. The national technology move is actually an important case aimed at creating a dip wave. We believe that our country will have full independence in many areas with the vision of national technology move. The national technology move is a stance and a strong objection to monopolization in scientific and technological developments. A child who grew up today by touching an airplane and being inspired can take part in this country's space program in the future, making his name around the world with self-developed technologies. We must guarantee not only the present, but also our future with this dip wave. If a 77-year-old grandfather encourages his grandson at this point, and a 7-year-old also turns to these areas, inspired by his brothers and sisters, we can guarantee our future. That is why we express the importance of the national technology move at every turn. In order not to leave ourselves at the controversial mercy of giant technology companies that are beginning to have great influence in the world and have more income than many countries around the world, we must move forward on this path with firm steps and with the support of the entire community. Technofest 2021 applications have started underlining T3 Foundation Board of Trustees Chairman Selçuk Bayraktar, February 28, 2021 until the applications continue, he said. Bayraktar said. Participation in Technofest is growing exponentially every year. In 2020, 100,000 young people from 84 countries applied to participate in the competitions. This year, we expect young people to apply by February 28, 2021 with their teammates who are developing qualified projects together. Almost all of the projects participating in the competition can be carried out as a team. Although teams cannot work together during the outbreak, they make extraordinary efforts to carry out their projects online. From this point of view, applications to Technofest show that the National Technology Move vaccine is holding. The important thing is that the projects that will come out of here, the initiatives will take their place on the world stage. Selçuk Bayraktar, chairman of the Board of Trustees of T3 Foundation, made the following recommendations to young engineers and engineer candidates. To be seen like this is a source of great happiness and very proud for me. But we have to act accordingly, knowing the responsibilities that this situation places on us. The young people of this country can achieve great things as long as they have brothers and sisters who guide them, and minimal opportunities are provided. We must always believe in it and act accordingly. I can humbly guide our young brothers by saying some of the points I have expressed several times before. Based on my experience, I would like to say that first of all, our young brothers should pay more attention to how and why they do it than to what they do. You can devote yourself to science, develop technology, or create an enterprise. There are many different jobs you can do. You can also make a plane, you can be a cleaner, you can be a cop, or you can work in a restaurant. The important thing here is how and why you do it. In all the work you do, the main thing is the meaning you attribute to it. They should strive to serve their families, their environment, society, our nation, and humanity beyond themselves. They must achieve what they do without ever leaving ethical and moral values. If a person knows why he is doing a job, he can also more easily answer how to do it in himself. I want to say to our young brothers who want to develop technology. First, all they do is prepare for the trends of the future. Instead of sticking to what others did years ago, they should come up with their own original designs and stand behind this product. They have to believe that they can be leaders in the world with this job, no matter what they do. And they must strive to do what is not always done, but what is not done. They must find the lion in their hearts as believers. If they do, they may be subject to a number of obstacles in the long run, but sooner or later they will succeed. To summarize briefly, our young brothers should always dream big, aspire to do what is not done, be original, never lose faith, always stick to ethical and moral values and do what they do knowing what they do for. As long as they act like this, I believe they can achieve anything in the long run. I have great confidence in the young people of our country. In the future, they will